and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, an edition of the Korean StarCraft League KSL week number 52. I'm of course Showslide VIP, and with me I'm joined by these amazing players, plushies, and people in the chat as well. Hello, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás, everyone? Welcome to something a little bit different. I say a little bit different. This is becoming a little bit more frequent. I do apologize, but the KSL, the Korean StarCraft League, is usually on Saturdays. Every second Saturday, every 2 weeks, we have a KSL, and usually it's on Saturdays, but on Saturday we were otherwise unavailable. If you remember, on Saturday we were casting the House Galactic Battle. We were casting an all-day LAN event. There was a LAN event going on in Poland. Siema, papi, siema. Did see you in the chat. But there was a LAN event happening in Poland, and because of that, we were busy covering that. It lasted the entire day. It was a 12-hour cast, or 13-hour cast, and because of that, we missed out. We missed out on the KSL. We weren't able to cast it live, but I'm here to go over those replays. Here to go over the replays. So, again, for full transparency, this is a replay cast. These events happened less than a week ago, and I'm ready to catch up. There is a bracket command in the chat. Be careful of spoilers, as there are of course spoilers in the brackets. Likewise, we will not be permitting spoilers in the chat in case you happen to have watched it live. Again, I'm pretty sure Chicken Man and Dave Testa, they were casting it live at the time, so if you've already seen the matches, then do keep that information to yourselves. Otherwise, we're jumping in. We are going to be jumping in. Okay, and we have, oh my god, we have quite a lot of matches ahead of us. Cure vs Spirit. This is the KFC score. Hold on. this is not what we're casting. As I refresh, bam. There we go. As I do refresh the match list, we're going to be starting things off with Ryung versus Trap. So we have, I believe this is a round of 16 match, and we have all of the quarterfinals matches. So we're going to be covering all of that. Then we're going to be going on a short break into the semifinals, then into the grand finals. So honestly, again, a shout out to Dave Tez and Chicken Man for hosting this event, for organizing this event. !KSL in the chat. If you want to help support the Korean StarCraft League, you can do so via Patreon, as they do have a Patreon where you can help support and fund this tournament and help grow it as well. So again, a big shout out to all the patrons for the KSL out there. And again, a shout out to Dave Testa and Chicken Man, just because of the way they host it. They do provide replays, and every single replay actually. Again, like I mean, sometimes we're kind of light on replays just because maybe there wasn't as much coverage going on at the time, but I have every single quarterfinals match, so it's gonna be a long one tonight. I'm ready. I'm ready for all the casting, papi, all the casting. Let's go. Again, to kick things off, we have our TvP, followed by Gumiho versus Classic and Dark versus Nightmare. Oh boy, so a lot of Korean action ahead of us. A lot of Korean action is ahead of us. For the time being, we're diving into game one. Game one for Ryung versus Trap is going to be on site Delta. Let's go. Again, Ryung and Trap has been back for, I think, 2 months now. Almost 2 months. Shout out to Gemini, GGE Mini, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw, but I think it was this morning. Less than 24 hours ago, Gemini posted, he made a highlight video, a highlight compilation of Trap's games. And I knew that something was coming because Gemini reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and he was asking for some Trap replays, because obviously we cast a lot of StarCraft and we've been casting a lot of Trap in his return, and he was asking for the replays, and I was curious as to why, and it was so he could help make the video. So yeah, I do recommend it. It's very hype, very old school as well. And let's dive into our series. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of site Delta, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Vitality. It is Ryung. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the ex-military Protoss. He has been back for, what did the video say? 50 days? 50 days, papi. It is Trap. For Gen.G Esports. Let's go. Again, it's great to have the Wing Commander back once again after so long. Trap has returned. And again, we've been casting him over the past couple of months, and he has been having some really surprising results. Trap has beaten players like Bjorn, like Rogue, like even, I want to say, some Protoss players like Classic as well. Like, it's been really impressive to see Trap return and improve, or I say return and improve, return and be able to take down some of the bigger names in the Korean scene already, despite being back for so little time. It's been really impressive. Not just Trap, these kind of like accolades and these results are also echoed by Rogue. Like, Rogue is also recently returning from the military at the same time. Oh! At the same time as Trap, and Rogue has also taken down some big names as well. So yeah, both Trap and Rogue have recently returned, and they've both been doing very well for themselves. But we'll see how Trap compares to Ryung. Ryung, of course, has been also concluded his military service, did return from the military quite some years ago at this point. And Ryung nowadays is a staple of the scene, I would say, especially when it comes to TvT. Now, yes, some of the best TvT in the world. TvP is a little bit more up there though, and like, hey, if Trap can bring down Beyond, we can definitely take it to Ryung as well. The names do sound similar. For now, it looks like the beginnings of a 3 racks opener. Okay, was an economic build here. Racks expand for Ryung into the 3 racks. I'm ready for it. I'm assuming a 3rd racks. Yep, there we go. 3rd racks is going to be thrown down. Meanwhile, across the map, we do have Trap moving out with our initial Zealots and our Adept. Some earlier aggression here to try to delay the CC on the low ground. The SCV is under fire. We have to pull away. So far, good start stepping here by Ryung. And we shouldn't really lose too much here as okay. Don't lose any Marines. The CC is delayed. The Marines are very low though, and 1 Marine goes down. The boys are being pulled to help DPS down that Adept, but every Marine does fall. Ooh, and we do get 1 SCV kill, but we should be able to finish up this CC. Not without losing another SCV. 2 SCVs go down. Aye. So not bad here. Not a bad start, as Trap is still not done, rallying across the map with another Adept, but now the base is done. Command center is done. I say that the Marines are still going down one after the other. Here in the main base, we don't have any backup heli in production, for example. It's just pure Marine. And we are bleeding out quite a lot of Marines here, and this is dangerous considering the fact that Ryung is building up towards a Stim timing. I mean, Stim is all well and good, but what can you do with Stim if you don't have any Marines? Aye. Look at the install stat, 4 Marines already going down. Doesn't sound like a lot, but again, it does add up over time as we're building up towards that eventual upgrade timing. Trap behind this, settling in, working towards his own tech of choice. Going to be a Blink-based opener. With that Twilight Council in the main, additional gateways on the way. It's going to be 2-gate Blink for the time being. And did I say 2-gate Blink? Another gateway gets thrown down. So 3-gate Blink here for Trap. We could throw it in a 4th, but with 3-gate Blink, I'm already loving this already by Trap. It's a very safe opener. It allows us to be aggressive. It allows us to move out across the map and to, once again, pick away at this army. To pick away at the army before it moves out. Meanwhile, we're building up now Marauders. Ryung is in the dark. Ryung has not SCV scouted. There's obviously no Reaper or Hellion scout either. There's no drop play. We're playing blind, we're playing in the dark, and we're hoping to catch and Trap out. And we'll see if we can. The Marines are spotted ahead of time, the initial Marines. What's important is that Ryung has been keeping everything else hidden for the time being. As I say that, we do shade across. You can see Ryung does intentionally hide his bio. Does keep it hidden. Trap, he does expand, takes a 3rd. Does take the 3rd base, is moving out across the map. Meanwhile, Ryung is looking to pull the trigger. So far, he's spotted! Yeah, big scout there by Trap. Does spot the army. Is going to intercept. Ideally, he wants to bait out a Stim. Remember, with this 3-racks play, your Stims are so valuable because you have no sustain. You have no medevacs. So every Stim does count. You don't want to waste them. Likewise, Trap rotating around, going to try and intercept the army once again. And, doesn't quite get the Marine yet. There we go. 1 Marine goes down. Once again, rotating around. I'm loving that Ryung can make use of the high ground here on the right-hand side. Makes it that much more awkward for Trap to engage. So he does head towards that natural. Shield battery is done. Force fields are on the way. We do have the Stim. The force fields do block off the army, but we head towards the 3rd instead. We managed to get the shield battery, the pylon, and can we force a cancel? I think we can. Yeah, the army does rotate over. The base is getting low. That's a 2nd Stim for Ryung. And yeah, he's going to bleed out everything. The Marauders get focused on first, then the rest of the army. The Stim does nothing, and Trap, he holds. He doesn't just hold, he saves the 3rd base. And barely loses anything. That was 3 Stalkers going down. 3 Stalkers, a shield battery, a pylon. and that wasn't quite worth it for Ryung. Now he's in a bit of trouble. I mean, we did give up quite a lot to get into that. Essentially tank production, right? There was no factory production whatsoever here for Ryung when it comes to this build. It all comes down to the stim timing. And this means the trap can still dip between the bases, both the natural and the main. There's no bunker here either. We have marauders. Yeah, we hold on. I was going to say that because there's no tanks, we could try to dip into the main. I mean, there is an observer up here. Could try to dive into the main, pick off add-ons, and get into the mineral line, but Trap does retreat as Ryung has not gained map control. So Trap backs off, but he's got a fully saturated third base and Colossi. Colossus production has begun for Trap. Initially Blink into Colossus into Charge. Upgrades on the way with +1. Trap just settling into his 3-base setup. And Ryung is getting into his own. We can see here a third CC on the way for Ryung. Is floating on over. Is floating on over here. See in chat, ever consider adding predictions? We do add predictions whenever we cover live broadcasts. That is true. Do you have predictions for that? But not for these matches. Not for these matches. As Ryung is now settling into his own third, it is spotted here by the observer. Trap does see all. Behind this, fourth base on the way. Building up more Colossus. Just calming things down. Trap just gonna be settling in. The observer is found out. Keen eyes there by Ryung. Does catch the observer. Likewise, the Colossus is confirmed. Now Ryung is aware of the splash damage of choice. Could technically have been Charge and Storm, for example. But now he's aware of the Colossus. Already working on Vikings. Additional Vikings on the way. And yeah, we're just kind of calming things down a little bit. And for one, I'm really enjoying that we're able to see a little bit more of Trap here, especially in a longer mid-game. Again, I feel like even though we have been casting a lot of Trap over the past couple of months, it's still been quite limited with his range. So I'm here for it. Meanwhile, Ryung moving out. He has been building up to 3 tanks. Does spot the army. Does spot the main army at the same time. Teleramma does hit the third. SCVs are going down. A lot of SCVs, actually. Ryung has to commit. It's going to be 10, 11 worker kills. 13, oh my god. Meanwhile, Trap does misread. Do rotate over. We go straight for the third. Sorry, straight for the fourth. And the fourth Nexus is going to go down. So not a bad snipe. But it did cost us 17 SCVs. Oof. Decent force fields here from Trap. Catching some bio. Again, it's one of the things where Trap, sure, he lost the fourth, but he retained all of his workers. He's still on 70 probes. An insane worker count. And Ryung needs to get more done, especially after losing all of his workers. Is trying to encroach here upon the natural. We'll start pushing in. We have 3 Colossus. We have Storm. Yeah, we have Storm down. They're going to be connecting here on the army, the bio, the tanks. And we crush through. We just break through this army. There's almost nothing left, and we retain most of our Colossus. Yeah, still 2 Colossus left. We chase out the Medivacs. Charge Lot still diving on top of the army. Ryung is in trouble. He bled out all of his tanks, most of his bio. Down to 2 Medivacs. We're getting into Ghost production, but this may just be too late. If we had just killed the base and been a little bit more patient and waited for the Ghost, then could have been a different story. Now they're going to be a little bit less impactful. Trap re-expanding, double expanding even. Getting his 4th, and now his 5th. Pulling back, building up more High Templar. We are lacking a Gateway army, that is true. Like, we did bleed out quite a lot of the Zealots and Stalkers. How many Gateways are we on? 8 gates. That's okay. We could do with a couple more. But 8 gates for now. As we are reinforcing War Prism as well as join up with the main army. With the help of this Prism, we can commit. And we have that Observer just getting eyes on everything. Do see all. Likewise, Scan does reveal the army. Ryung is aware of where Trap is. Trap sharking around with those High Templar. But yeah, interesting. Despite having that fight earlier, winning that fight earlier, Trap is just slowing things down, remaxing first. I mean, he still has an armor supply lead. Still retain that economic lead as well. Ryung is catching up with the worker count. You can see here heavily oversaturated at his third base. Desperately needs a fourth. Speaking of, fourth base is now being taken. Dark Shrine on the way for Trap. And we're moving out. Scan reveals the army. Ryung is aware. He's gonna try to keep up. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to Trap even throwing down a fleet beacon in this position. Like, if Trap has map control and if he knows he has a better economy, then something like a fleet beacon and Skytoss could do well here. But for now, just doubling down. Taking another base! Calm down. Just mass expanding. In position for the Zealot run by. Observer gets caught. Not bad. Not a bad moment for Ryung. Speaking of Skytoss, there it is. Stargate. Stargate is on the way. That should be for Skytoss. The storm does go off. Trap pulling back. Second robo as well, so this should be for disruptor production. As it should be easing our way out of these Colossus. Into disruptors. Likewise, Trap rotating around, looking for a way in. So far, not able to. Zealot Runway gets caught. Likewise, there is an observer here towards the north, so Trap does spot the main army. And so far, Ryung is doing well holding on. I mean, he's been able to remax. He's been able to get a fourth base. Earlier, things were looking bleak for Ryung when he lost his fight across the map, but he has recovered. Part of that is because Trap did give him some breathing room, but Ryung has been able to recover, has been able to remax. The big thing that Ryung is missing, on the flip side, as we do get a massive EMP, is Liberators. Liberation zones would be amazing against a ground-based army like this. Even against Skytoss, it's an ideal supportive unit once we go into mass Sky Terran. And there it is. Now we have the Fusion Core on the way. We have a second starport as well. You could argue that maybe this is a little bit late for Ryung, but considering the game state and considering how behind he was earlier when he lost his army, like, I don't blame Ryung for taking things a little bit more cautiously. But now we have that Fusion Core that's going to be for Libs. Meanwhile, oh my, that's a lot of DTs. It's a lot of Dark Templar. As Trap is a mass expanding even more. Taking these northern bases as well. And unfortunately, Ryung hasn't seen much of this. He should be able to deny this Nexus, but he has not spotted the proxy. He's once again on the charge lots. Trap does retreat, like his army is quite vulnerable right now. And Ryung going for a bit of a base trade here, or at least Trap hoping to go for one. Yeah, blinking on top of the Nexus, blinking on top of the Planetary. Planetary goes down in a couple of swipes. Oof. Massive pick up. At the same time, Ryung, he backs off, doesn't quite get the Northern Nexus. Got one, not the other. And we're even setting up for a surround as well. No! We do land an EMP! But so many Marines go down. The Ghost as well. Oof, that was a rough loss for Ryung. I mean, thankfully he's expanding towards the south. Has to retake this CC. And I believe still no Liberators. We're still focusing on bioproduction. Carriers now on the way. And without that Sensor Tower, Ryung, he misses this. He's out of position. Yeah, not quite ready. Does race back over. Just in time. Does get here at the same time. No, the DT's not again. Okay, only 3. We're okay. This time, thankfully, only 3 DTs. Ryung does hold. Base going down. Liberator production has begun. The scary thing right now for Ryung is he is unaware of the tech switch. He's unaware of the Skytoss that is amassing. Otherwise, he would be, I would imagine, throwing down another starport. Getting into another starport, getting into more Vikings, more Libs. Fixating a little bit more on that. Ryung misses the rotation. We're going for the planetary. At the same time, the surround is coming in. Here we go for the flank. We do shut down both Colossus. But we did take a storm to the face. And Trap is still holding his own, even without the Colossi. The Immortals, they break through the Immortals. We get on top of the Ghosts. And here on the left, the DTs, they break through as well. GG gets called, and Trap takes game number 1. GG. A solid game there from Trap. Again, I do think he may have been a little bit too passive or a little bit too tentative in the mid game after he had taken a bit of a lead. But at the same time, like, Trap, because he was mass expanding, he had an insane economy. Like, he could afford to, like, even trade a little bit inefficiently. Like, he wasn't trading too poorly, but he could afford to. Like, he just had mass expansions, he had map control, he was looking pretty comfortable. He's looking pretty comfortable after that first fight, and Ryung was up against the wall. It was also a bit of a shame that the opener of Ryung kind of fell in its face. That's why a lot of momentum was kind of stripped away from him. I'm referring to the 3-axe. If you remember the 3-axe of Ryung, it got 3 Stalkers. Like, it was less than ideal. Didn't get much done, and yeah, with that, Ryung was playing from a bit of a rough position there early on. And now we're headed into game 2. Game número 2 on Oceanborn. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Team Vitality. Down in this series, we're going to bounce back. It is Ryung. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Gen.G Esports. It is Trap. We go. Again, it's really cool to hear that Trap has gotten the support of a team. I believe he's the first player on Gen.G Esports, so they're kind of a relatively new team looking to support Trap. At least new to StarCraft. So we do appreciate it. There's still a couple of the returning players that haven't found a team, like Rogue, for example. I don't think Rogue is on a team, if I'm not mistaken. It's Rogue and DRG when it comes to the big Koreans that are teamless. They're the two that come to mind. I could be missing some, but yeah, Rogue and DRG currently out there looking for a place to call home. Probe dipping in. Tasing at the SCV, being as annoying as possible. We can see this time Ryung is going for a double gas opener. As a reminder, last game it was a Rax expand into a 3-Rax build here by Ryung. With a double gas opener, we're going for a faster factory. We are not going for a 3-Rax. Should be a very different build. Very different build here. Factory is on the way. Trap does confirm. I mean, he saw the second gas and he knew it was coming. We'll see where we go from here. Up. Oh my god. As we almost got the SCV. Got worried for a second there. But the probe gets shut down. SCVs do survive. And now we're going to be coming down into Oceanborn. I imagine that Trap is once again going to go for a Blink variation. We'll see. Like, Stargate openers have their place, don't get me wrong. We usually see them on maps like Site Delta, for example, which I imagine is why Ryung went for a 3-Rax on Site Delta, just because the map is larger, so you feel a little bit safer to go into Stargate play. Speaking of, Stargate by Trap. So Stargate into, I imagine, Phoenixes. And Ryung does got this ahead of time. He is aware. And back at home, he's going to be getting ready for that. So we have Cyclones on the way. I imagine Cyclone into Viking. Making sure we have as much anti-air as possible. Bearing in mind that Trap could amass Phoenixes or could even go Oracle first instead. If this was Hero or Classic, I'd be like, yo, let's go. Let's make the Oracles. But for Trap, he could be a little bit more standard, I imagine. Yeah, Phoenixes on the way. Phoenixes are in production. Reaper gets shut down. Back at home, Ryung just making additional cyclones. Interesting, going for the medevac. Bold move. I say this is bold because, I mean, we have Phoenixes and their goal is to shut down drop play. So it looks like Ryung does want to be a little bit more active on the map. With his cyclones, with his medevac. Adept's throwing a shade. Not quite committing. But they do confirm the cyclones back at home. So Trap is aware. Getting a third Phoenix. And it looks like, yeah, we're going to be moving out with everything we have. There are cyclones on the ground. We have the Marines loaded in. As we move out, the Phoenixes are moving in. And do we have anything to defend? Oh, never mind. Phoenixes, they turn back around. We're going to try and catch the Phoenixes. The trap! Yeah, massive lock-ons, and we do catch one! One Phoenix goes down. Very nice positioning here by Ryung. Trap is now aware. Back at home is getting ready. We have a shield battery. Coronating out an Immortal as we speak. That was a very good catch here from Ryung. Hoping to catch another Phoenix. Not quite able to. Gonna slip away. And with 3 cyclones, we try to break through, but with the shield battery with an overcharge, we should be able to hold on. As the Adepts are taking a lot of damage, one Adept goes down. The Immortal has spawned in. With the help of the Immortal, yeah, we can focus down these cyclones, focus down the Marines. Overcharge is popped. And Ryung does break through. What? Does break through. Trap does break out, what I meant to say. Does break out. Again, the overcharge kept everything alive. Nice control here with the Phoenixes. We do preserve them. And only a handful of cyclones do make it out. Behind this, we have a third CC on the way. We're amassing tanks, but Trap, he can keep pushing. Uh-oh. We can commit. The tank is not out yet. We need a little bit more time. Boys are being pulled. Ryung in some trouble. One Stalker gets picked off. Tank has barely come in time. Trap has to back up. But hey, we got 5 SCVs. That was still a better trade for Trap. Didn't overcommit. But Ryung holds. Ryung does hold on. Have our CC on the way. So a very economic follow-up here by Ryung, as Trap is just now getting into his own third. So we're in a really odd game state where both Ryung, both the Terran and the Protoss are pretty similar in their 3CC timings. On their third base timings even. Which is better for the Terran. I say that Immortal's pushing in once again. Oh! Big tank volleys going off. Oh, almost taking down the Immortal. Cyclone with a lock-on. Immortal goes down. Trap bleeding out quite a bit here. Yeah, a little bit too overeager. Losing an Immortal for a Cyclone. Not really worth it. Behind this, Trap double expanding. Getting his third and his fourth base. Scan shuts down the Observer. And Trap is looking to get into Phoenix Colossus. So yeah, we should have seen ahead of time. The Colossus on the way, charge as well. Kind of your stock standard setup here in the mid-game of PvT. Phoenix Colossus. We got there in a roundabout way, and Trap is still being so active. It's so risky. I mean, I guess Ryung doesn't really have any pushing power. Like he doesn't have the most mobile army. As long as we stay out of range of the tanks, I guess we can take a fight. Speaking of, okay, Trap. We calm things down. Trap threatened to dive until we go within range of the tanks, and Trappy backs the hell off. Diving into the main, catching a couple of SCVs. Not bad. 5 SCVs going down. Rotating to the natural. Back at home, Trap settling into his 4-base economy. Building up Colossus, already have 2, soon to be 3. Third Colossus on the way. And it looks like we're just massing our production, getting ready for all those charge lots. Yeah, here they come. Throughout all of this, Ryung has been building up. Again, Ryung hasn't really taken many losses in the past couple of minutes. He has been the defender, building up his army. Stim is done, +1. Combat shields. And we're moving out with quite a tank count. That is 4 tanks. And Trap does not spot this move out. He lost the observer earlier. There we go, does spot the army. We do get up the ramp. Shows the force field. Not quite. The tanks, they do siege, but 2 tanks go down almost instantly. Yeah, just a really rough position here for Ryung. Pushing up the ramp. Every tank is going to fall. We didn't quite make it. Like, one of the big moments and like a really powerful position is if we can get up this ramp, if we can get onto the high ground, we can take a fight, but we didn't quite get there. Yeah, Ryung caught on the ramp, and now Trap going for a massive counterattack. We lost almost every single tank. There's 1 tank left. Trap diving in. Boys are being pulled. We lift up the tank. Does get dropped. Big volley's going over the Colossus. But there's no support. There's no bio left. GG gets called. Trap breaks through, and Trap takes the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Impressive play here by Trap. Personally, I was really surprised by how aggressive he was, especially here in game 2. He was being so bold early on with his first Immortal push, if you remember, after he dealt with the Cyclone attack, the triple Cyclone push. Likewise with his Colossus as well. Like, Trap was really opportunistic here, and again, like, I'm still trying to get a feel for how Trap is playing nowadays. I know that for a lot of players like Trap and Stats and Rogue and a lot of these players that went to the military and that are coming back, they had a reputation back in the day, but like nowadays they may not play the same way. I think Stats is a really good example of that. Stats, he was known as like the Shield of Fire, right? He was known for his like macro defensive style, but if you watch him nowadays, like that isn't really the case as much. That's mainly the case in like PvZ. I think in his PvZ matchups he's the most defensive. But if you watch Stats like in PvP and even against Terran, like Stats, he's a lot more aggressive nowadays. Just like he's, you know, evolved over time and now a bit of a different player. And yeah, likewise, I'm trying to get a read on Trap as well. So GG, well played. Trap does take it 2-0. And speaking of PvPs, we're going to be following Trap into his next series. Oh boy. Trap is going to be coming up next here against Hero in that PvP.